January 24th, 2024 to order. And I need a motion to appoint Errol Rhodes to the
You
board.
can do that all by yourself.
Errol, I appoint you.
Mirabile dictu.
You're now anointed.
Wait, annoying.
You guys all good?
We're good.
I'll see you later.
We're having fun.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Sharp corners first.
If we get done, I'll be back.
All right. First on the, you all set, Cam? Okay. First on the agenda, is the public hearing with regard to the zoning changes. I don't know, what was the, we have the actual advertisement that we put in the paper or whatever?
The one that's going out is what we're going to be voted on.
Yeah,
Oh, you mean the public notice?
yeah, yeah,
The hearing? I don't have a copy of that,
okay,
but this is a continuation, so.
right, okay. No, it's a continuation of a previous public hearing you had with regard to changes to the zoning ordinance. We have three specific items, the first of which is the replacement of section 211 floodplain development with a new floodplain, new section 211 floodplain development. The FEMA has adopted new flood mapping for the town, and because of the new mapping, there's a requirement to end up changing the wording in the ordinance to comply with the new mapping requirements from FEMA. And that's the intent of that change in the ordinance. So again, it would be a removal entirely of the existing section 211 floodplain development and replacing that with a new floodplain development regulations. So
When was this map made?
It was 21.
yeah, I think so.
Okay, so it's not something 2 months ago.
Oh, no,
Okay.
no, and we've had the state Office of Planning, which is that's not the name of it anymore, but they had gone through apparently everyone's ordinances and to revise them to be in accordance with the FEMA changes. So that's where we are on that. And so anybody interested in reviewing any of that? You may have copies of it.
I have copies of the red line.
Okay. All right, seeing no interest in that. We also have two changes in the open space development. And this this came about because of an existing open space development. The ordinance that currently reads that houses or buildings can be no closer than 40 feet apart, but there's no setback requirements from the internal property lines
Mr. Chairman, this is a continuation of a second public hearing, is it not?
of the first.
Of the floodplain?
No, Errol is correct. The board should.
Close the first public hearing.
Yeah. have a-
All right.
Floodplain, Sorry to-
The way they did that, yes, you're right, okay. Have a motion to close the public hearing with regard to flood,
The board has to make a recommendation.
well, we'll close the hearing and then vote.
second.
Moving seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, a motion to,
Motion to accept the revised floodplain development regulations, section 211, and to place a warrant on the March, place an article on the March warrant reflecting that.
is there a second?
Second.
Moving seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Vote unanimous. All right. Oh, I'm jumping ahead here. So again, the second one is with regard to the open space developments and the setback from internal property lines. Again, we had a situation develop where someone had located a structure or wanted to locate a structure close to the property line. And the other property either hadn't been built on or they had potential plans of doing something, and the way the ordinance reads, you have to be 40 feet from the one who basically gets there first. And the board looked at that and with recommendations from the building inspector had decided to adopt a requirement that internal property line setbacks would be 20 feet from that setback, from the property line, both sidelines and also the rear setbacks too. And so, let's see, did you notice that as a separate one? Okay. So are there any questions with regard to that, that change in the ordinance?
Is that, that change in the ordinance is gonna show up at, in March on the.
Yeah.
the vote?
Right.
That's gonna, it's gonna be a recommendation from the board, and then it needs to be voted on by the people.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right, any other questions, comments? We have a motion to,
I just want to make sure the board is okay with the wording in front of them. I use your notes, Fred.
Okay.
On a discussion from last time, but
so on this one here?
So the language of the warrant article.
correct. So we talked about, including structures and or buildings for 1 and 2. And also keeping, but we added a number 2. And we also kept the dwelling unit separation, with that note about the planning board having the authority to.
Right. Because that was already there anyways, it's just a matter of moving it. Excuse me. So, and then we also, there was simply mentioning of the, what, we had structures before or buildings
Yeah,
before?
right. Just structures before, and we wanted to mention.
And the
buildings as
the ordinance says a different definition for structures and buildings. So what we decided to do was to insert structures and or buildings, both in the front setback, which is in the ordinance as 25 feet. And then also as the change with the 20-foot from the internal sidelines. And then the another section which is currently in the ordinance as it is, which gives the planning board the authority to waive that 20-foot requirement for any particular reasons that are, but which would be acceptable for fire safety and the as determined by the fire chief. And again, that's already in the ordinance, but it's just a renumbering of that particular item.
So I'm wondering, the first sentence in 3, how is that distinguished from number 2? So number 2 says side and rear setback structures in a building should be located not less than 20 feet from internal side and rear property lines. And then the next one talks about the first sentence of the number 3 says the depth of side and rear yard measured from building property line should not be less than 20 feet. Is that repetitive?
Used to, yeah, it looks like it's kind of redundant.
There was discussion last time about keeping it, because of the potential difference between dwelling unit separation and then the different setbacks. I think we could take it out and just. add
We,
The statement on the planning board.
we left it as 2 separate units because one is structure and or buildings. The other is a dwelling unit. So the part that we left being, structures and or, buildings means it would be a shed, it would be any kind of, whether it be a tower or a shed or anything like that, is not considered a dwelling, it's considered a structure. That's why we used it 2.
Okay.
So this way here, it keeps anybody's radio antennas, keeps anybody's shed, anybody's pool 20 feet off, rather than just a dwelling unit.
Okay.
That's the reason we kept 2.
Oh, no, there is a
Two.
change.
But this is the first section, right, no, that's
So that's the
that's,
reason we made all 3. even though
Okay,
the
and the-
redundancies in there.
so we've signed up to the Department of Redundancy Department.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay. Good.
the wording as it currently stands is that the buildings have to be 40 feet apart.
Right.
And now it's just redundant with regard to off the property line.
Distance off the
Yeah.
property line.
Right. So it is repetitive, but
For the sake of clarity.
Yes. We went round and round about that the last meeting.
Yeah, yes.
okay. Any other questions or comments?
I would move that we
Close the public hearing.
close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor?
All in favor? Yeah, aye.
All right, unanimous. And, okay,
There'd be a motion, I guess. Do we have to move to put this warrant on,
Mhm.
this article on the warrant?
Yeah.
So I would move that we place the warrant, the article numbered, yet to be numbered,
yeah,
as set forth in the language in front of us on the warrant for March.
is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Vote unanimous. Thank you, Cam. All right. And yep. All right. Christian. We did receive letter comment from Keach Nordstrom. And I had taken a look at it and I didn't see anything I had any issues with. I don't know if you guys are in the same.
Yeah, we did our best, Mr. Chairman, to address, absolutely everything in the memo. Because that came in last, Thursday, I think it was the 18th. We were just able to get things, squared away and hand delivered to you tonight. And since, the chairman at last meeting read through all of these, hopefully we don't have to reiterate that into the record.
Right.
I could just, I'll give you a quick synopsis and go with our responses to each of these that are still outstanding. He just notes that we reference the state permits that are required on the cover sheet. We just respond with comment noted. On number 2, that was specific to the lot line adjustment. I should have left the cover sheet down there. So I did get the date that was approved from Cam, and we have added that to the cover sheet as well. Noting that lot line adjustment with those 4 parcels was approved last February.
Yeah.
And you know, we understand that that plat will need to be recorded as a condition of this approval. I don't think Ed necessarily wants to make those lot line changes if this does not go forward.
Right.
We understand that. Number 3 was just Steve's explanation of the new bonding rules, which we went over in pretty good detail last time. First bullet point under zoning matters. It's just informational, and he's confirming that he agrees with the yield plan and that 18 lots is an adequate density.
Right.
Or has been proven as an adequate density. The second bullet point under that note is that the town needs to send out to their legal counsel the draft covenants, easements, and restrictions. Probably the open space, the homeowners language as well. And the applicant will provide that under separate covenants by town council. Then we get to planning and design matters. Roscoe has gone through now and created essentially a sheet 1A, 1B. And A will be a recordable sheet. B is the site plan that shows all the test pits, the 4K areas, the well radiuses, all of the detailed data. And the same with number 2, which is just the remaining areas of parcel. We've got a 2A, which would be the second recordable sheet, and a 2B, which would be again, just the second topographic sheet and site plan.
Yep.
So he has gone through and dealt with all of that information. 2 under planning matters. Again, he's referring back to the separate subdivision topographic subdivision plans. And again, we just kind of went through that. That has been dealt with. And so he wanted to see on 5 and 6. Those are the first couple of profile sheets. We have done most of them. But I think some of our map and lot references are just off the viewport. So we have now gotten those onto all of the parcels on both sheets there. And it's just reference to the tax map and lot, proposed tax map and lot number of each existing or proposed parcel that we're contemplating here. Okay, then on number 3, we have added, or Roscoe added a note on both sheets A and 1A and 1B. So those would be the first subdivision site plan and the first reportable sheet. Noted in number 16, that details the waiver to the center line test pits that was granted at the last hearing in December.
Right.
Oh, and number 4 was,
And having to do process.
oh, it had, right.
Yes, right.
Yeah, and both of those are now noted.
Okay.
And number 4,
What
there
is-
was just a little bit of a coordination issue between Roscoe's plans and ours. Specific to where his 4Ks were shown,
Mm-hmm.
and the proximity, and I think it was the proximity of, most of the new remote infiltration areas that we had to add once we got the, site-specific soils on here.
I had to pull them 5-10 feet away because now we have these new ponds, so.
Yeah, and
Right.
it was a grouping of, I think, 5 or 6 individual lots, and, so Roscoe has gone through, taken all of those areas, we've got a pond here, we've got a pond here, pond here, pond here, there, and there finally, and gotten all of his 4Ks at a minimum of 35 feet off of the, off of those berms.
Which estate will be reviewing them.
Right.
So that's been dealt with. Number 5. Oh, this was just regarding, I think we had done the lion's share of this. I believe that when Steve is talking about depiction, he wanted to see something shown for flared end sections.
Yes, right.
And what we did, Mr. Chairman, is we went through, particularly on sheet 7, I think you can see it best. Even where we're proposing the erosion control blankets and the swales, we've actually depicted those with just a hatched rectangle in the swale to depict where those would go. But then kind of added all of the flared end sections, all of the head walls, and all of that information. So that I think is squared away as well.
You've got those shown in the details.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, all of those things are depicted on the detail sheets as well. So that gets us through number 6, and then finally on number 7. Section sheet 1. Oh, so there was a portion of the Mount Delight right of way
Yes.
that is actually not 50 feet in width.
Like right here, it's like 2 or 3 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I made a blanket note that we do all the time, basically saying that we'll give the town, Deerfield, the right to, for any slope. Who's no 15 for them?
15.
The town has the right to do any sloping. For this, I have a plan for across the road and I've got all the right of way and
Mm-hmm.
just that one little eensy beensy
It's kind of a
spot.
pinch point.
Okay.
So, but rather than just show that little piece, I just say, anywhere it's less than 50, we'll grant, at least 25 feet off of the center of the road.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
With that, I'll entertain any questions you guys might have on our
Yeah, I had-
responses or the updated plans.
I had exchanged an email with Steve Keach with regard to the change in the statutes on construction of roads and bonding. And I still didn't get a final response from him. Yes, that was probably because it was too close to 5 o'clock, but, the, I'm still would like to be able to get some additional input from him with regard to when the bond is posted and or when the plans are recorded. And in the past, and as Mr. Cross knows, with his previous subdivision, we required the bond to be posted and just that gave the town assurances that any lots that would be sold, there's a money there to build the road. And but the change in the statute allows the developer to go ahead and build the road and then post a bond for whatever isn't completed on the road.
When they want a CO.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And certainly from my standpoint, my interpretation of this is that at some point we get a bond. And but I'm not sure when. And I'm not sure whether we sit we approve the project and we sit on the plans until either the road is done or the bond is posted, but I wasn't getting that information out of Steve, or the statute is, at least I find it somewhat ambiguous. I don't know, Christian, what your
Yeah,
experience you may
and
have.
really all I can go, I mean, every town does it a little bit differently, Fred, but all I can go on is what we've seen in the past and essentially how a lot of municipalities are doing it since this has taken place or since this has been enacted. They are basically recording the plans once the town's reviewing consultant approves the overall road bond amount.
Yeah.
Okay, here's how much we think it's going to cost to build this thing. And then the plans go into the registry, the developer can start construction on the road. And at the time, it's not CO, it's a building permit for the homes.
Right.
As soon as Ed wants a building permit for one of these houses, then we have to go through and say, okay, well, the base gravel is 100%, and go down the line with regard to all those line items in the bond. And here's what the remaining value is. Steve would then have to probably do a site walk or a site visit, review it, agree with it, or say, wait a minute, I think you're 30% there, not 40% or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then once he okays the final number, again, that goes to the board, and then the building permit can be issued.
That's exactly how my Raymond project is working.
The only concern I have is that, not to say Mr. Cross would do it, but somebody might. So we record the plan. The developer goes out and sells all the lots in the subdivision. And then he takes off. So the first person that just bought a piece of land then wants to get a building permit. The town doesn't have any money to build a road. And we then basically turn around and look at the property owner saying, you're gonna have to build it yourself.
Right. I mean, if something that catastrophic happened, Fred, I think you're exactly right. They're going to have an association. So if all those lots are sold out, theoretically, the association should be in force. And yeah, they would have to figure out how to bond that.
Yeah.
And get somebody to finish the construction.
So you agree with that potential situation?
I don't know how else it would work.
I think spoke with Steve. Roscoe just mentioned agreement. He said in some towns he's working, they draw up a developer agreement for that type of liability. I haven't seen one personally. I don't know what they do, but
Is it backed up by a letter of credit or any financial instrument, or is it just a wing and a prayer?
I couldn't say, but yeah, I mean, this is the law now.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So it's a matter of, the board trying to figure out a way that makes sense for us while still up here.
What, I think what we'll end up doing, any board members have any comments or questions with regard to the changes that have been made? In accordance with what, Steve Keach had printed out.
Not so much as, not with respect to what has been discussed.
Okay. Anybody in the audience have any questions on these? Right now, I think what I would like to have the board consider would be to basically give an approval to the plans. We don't have the bond amount yet, do we?
No.
No, okay. Or, I don't know if we want to do a full approval or something in the middle, but we still have the,
Condition.
Yeah, conditional, just condition it.
yeah,
So we need the covenant
need,
on,
yeah, the bond amount. and
State permits.
the permits and the homeowners association. And so that we can then put that together. And I guess what we want to do would be to take in the association would be to spell out the fact if somebody sells off all the lots and takes off, and that the people buying the lots are potentially responsible for
Yeah, it doesn't sound
building the
particularly,
road.
doesn't sound particularly buttoned up with respect to that.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm curious to know what shape of not only I guess the homeowners association covenants, but protection of the open area is going to be any advance on that? Well, I'm assuming that there's someplace in the homeowners association, there's going to be some set of covenants or agreements with respect to the open space and how that's going to be treated.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Rhodes, that is probably gonna be a separate document, a conservation easement
Yeah.
document that would cover that, and then the homeowners are just obligated by that.
Okay, so that's,
Typically, yeah, that's
okay,
it.
so that's, okay, it's different.
Yeah, that's part and parcel to the documents.
You already did this on this other project that basically told the planning, so that other one was good.
Yeah, and there's, and I even have a couple questions in regards to that, and thoughts that I would love to get the board on,
Mm-hmm.
as far as the, you know, the open space covenant document for conservation. But I don't wanna mix that up with concerns that you're talking about as well.
Right.
And I'm certainly open to listening to, anything reasonable that spells things out.
Mhm.
No problem spelling things out. I understand the change is different, and I understand what the law says. And I understand that, it appears it could be an issue that perhaps when they wrote the law, it didn't get quite thought out yet, so I'm sure there's gonna
Right.
be an amendment to that law coming soon.
Don't count on it, but
No, but I can anticipate something like that happening when everything kind of goes amok on one of these developments. I don't doubt, but
you are talking about the legislature, so that
I don't have all the answers for what protection, whatever, obviously that's gonna be order stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm working with that in regards to just all the covenants and the homeowners association, and the direction to go with all that. But then, regardless of what happens, the area that's protected is a conservation easement that's going to have to be spelled.
right.
Okay, so I know you're concerned. We don't have a choice but to meet those conservation easement literature, documents that.
Well, yeah, there are ways of doing it that are better and worse, and my interest is to make sure that the open space is treated as seriously as the developed space. And you put in a lot of effort and spend and, thought into the developed space, which is excellent. But the open space deserves equal treatment, I think, and that's where I come from on that.
So, I'm gonna go and try to talk about some thoughts that I've had and some conversations that I've had with others in regards to the open space part of this development. You know, and I'd love to get feedback. And now that I hear some of the challenges, it may even be an advantageous direction for me to look into even more. Okay?
Well, and respecting your wish not to mix things that are somewhat inchoate right now with this, which is more, specific. If that's a different conversation, that's perfectly fine. I think this presents its own challenges with respect to when the town gets, financially secured.
So I'm gonna put that on the back.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, let's talk about the conservation part, or the open space part of the development.
Fred, I may have just found our answer to the bond.
Oh, okay.
As I read through portions of the statute that Steve cites in his recommended conditions for that particular issue, I was incorrect. It says a bond in a sum sufficient to guarantee completion of any remaining road utility improvements must be in place prior to either sale of a lot, conveyance, or issue of a building permit.
Mhm.
So that means even if Ed wants to do a spec house, he would be pulling that building permit. So before he could get that, bond's got to be in place. If he tried to sell a lot, lock, stock, and barrel, a bond would have to be in place prior to that
Yep,
issuance as well.
okay.
So I think that might solve your problem of somebody selling all the lots out and then bolting.
So what you're saying is that the lot can't transfer ownership without the bond being.
Without the bond being in place, correct?
So not even a single lot.
That's right.
Right.
So that's probably the protection that you're concerned about on the public side.
Yeah, and,
You want to hear from town council on that still, or from Keach?
He should put it in black and white.
Yeah.
oh, he did, yeah. Yeah, the only, that end up raising another question is that who does the enforcement on the sale of the property? So it goes to the registry and it gets recorded. And I don't know if it's something that we have to end up having you input on the plan. I don't know, and I didn't bring a copy of Keach's letter, but was it, wanted us to read into the, any approvals that had that wording?
Yeah, under his number 3, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, under general comments. And it's just the verbiage in that paragraph that's italicized.
So my impression is that the wording that he has here is that he would recommend us put this wording in to the approval itself.
I would think so, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And, yeah, and then, as I say, the only other concern I end up having is then who makes sure that there's no sale of lots without the bond or the road, bond in place or the road constructed. And I know that's something that's.
Yeah, well, the building permit, obviously, the building
Yeah,
department
right,
can deal with that. With regard to sale, so the assessors get nothing until after that's done? The assessing department?
Yeah.
After a sale is just closed, here's the new deed?
Right.
Okay.
And I know that puts the onus on the town to make sure that no sales occur, which is, as far as I'm concerned, it's an extra effort by the town to make sure this doesn't happen.
But hasn't this been done
Uh,
many times over the last 20 years? Every time you do a subdivision, we're doing the same process. We're
No, we,
making a bond. That's how.
oh, yeah, but we have the bond. But this.
The bond's in place before the Mylar went into the registry.
Right,
This just came on October 3rd of 23.
right.
Is it a big deal just to hang on to the mud?
No, that was the other question I ended up asking Steve, is that we'd end up approving the plan and holding on to the Mylar until either the road is done or the bond.
Or
is
the
in
bond's
place.
in place,
I-
right?
I- Held the mud. I thought you did.
Well, the big concern there is that we
You lose it.
lose it.
Sorry.
Oh, we're not gonna lose it.
Mr. Rhodes knows quite well how easy it would be to lose the plans.
Hmm,
So I had to say it.
No,
yeah. It's some here.
you're not,
It's-
you're not
it's in
far
here
from the
someplace.
truth.
You know what, to me, it doesn't matter whether you're holding it or not. The approvals are accepted and they're done.
Mm-hmm,
Okay, that's all that I need. and
Right.
That's all that I would want.
Yeah.
And then obviously, in order to get any kind of sale of anything, I'm gonna have to get that registered. Okay? But that's not a big deal. That's just me saying, okay, here's my bond, Fred, please have somebody run down and get that thing put in so I
Right.
can go ahead and sell this lot.
Yeah.
Whatever.
right, exactly.
I don't care. That's perfectly fine with me. That doesn't bother me at all. It's kind of all the same thing.
Yeah,
You know, and even if, and even if I sold the whole project, whoever buys it would have to follow through and get that Mylar. They'd have to know because it's not gonna be out at the registry for them to grab.
right.
And they're gonna say, where is it? And I'm gonna say, oh, Fred's sold it.
Well, Pete will be holding.
So it doesn't, it.
All right,
honestly
so-
doesn't matter.
Well, I guess, and this is the banker in me talking, I mean, typically something like this kind of situation would be held by an escrow agent. You'd put it in escrow, and when you get both parts of it, then they would be released to the other side. That would keep, I don't know if it even works in this context, but it's just an idea.
I would say that I'm more comfortable letting the town hold the Mylar than I am to get involved with.
Because you-
But
Mhm.
I don't, I would be opposed to probably looking at that. Because I just think, first off, I won't understand it or know exactly how to proceed.
Mm,
This way I know how to proceed,
Right,
okay? And I want to be I want it to be as simple as me saying, here's my bond, go get that in because I want to start tomorrow.
mm-hmm,
I don't want to have to go through an escrow company or agent or anything like that, to move forward. Because I deal with that kind of stuff and other things, and
oh,
sometimes it can be drawn out a little bit too long.
escrow agreements are pretty confusing.
How long would you keep the Mylar? What would be?
Till he wanted to sell a lot.
yeah.
But then would be the,
Or until the road was finished.
Until the
Or
road
until the-
road
right,
is
right.
finished, right.
Or a bond is in
Well, the
place.
bond is, right.
I just think it has to be built within 2 or 3 years.
By statute, it's what, 5 years?
Yeah, so. Yeah, we
Right.
I just wonder if that's
I don't know if it's
not
even.
not
a step
registering,
beyond.
like, having the planning board not register it is similar in intent of what this law is trying to do. I wonder if that would not be good for the planning board to legally require. Holding on to it, I don't know, though, I would hesitate before we
Make it.
have that as a condition.
And from the town's perspective, it seems to me that having an escrow agent, and I understand, I'm not a fan of escrow agents, having dealt with that kind of thing before, but it does give clarity to a situation which is otherwise sort of, can be unintentionally contentious. So, but I think council might have a view on
Yeah.
how to deal with that.
Well, you'd say you can't force him, but he's volunteering.
Yeah,
You're volunteering to have the town hold it.
Yes.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
that's true.
right.
Yeah.
All right. What specific conditions do we end up having on this? We obviously have the homeowners association.
Yeah.
We have the
State
approval,
subdivision approval.
subdivision approval, we get the
Alteration of terrain.
site-specific approval, get that to do. The conservation easement, got that to get in place.
Where does the phasing, we just talked about phasing
They put a
last
note
time.
on- And I did speak with Jim about this.
Mhm.
I forget what note it is, guys. 13, the phasing requirements of the town of Deerfield zoning will be upheld. This this case, a maximum of 25% of lots can have building permits in 1 year.
There were ancillary questions around that.
The recommendation was to have a note like that, which you guys put on, and because of how the regulation is written, if in the future, in year 2, for example, there's a problem, come back and have a discussion with the planning board. Because the regulation is clear about how many years, you know, for this, it's 4 years and it's 25%. There's not much leeway in that, but the leeway resides in the authority the planning board has to consider, you know, allowing additional buildings. So I think the note is perfectly fine for.
Okay. All right, so we,
So the performance guarantee, condition, we are going to use verbatim Steve Keach's recommendation.
yeah, we probably should read that in as part of the conditional approval.
Yep.
And, so you also is setting the bond amount. So that's another one of the conditions. And, what else? Anything else?
So we'll, the town engineer shall set, or the applicant shall provide the town engineer with a proposed bond estimate
Yeah.
for review. Okay.
Yeah, there've been times in the past when Steve has just calculated it himself, but, my feeling is you guys should generate it and he should just look at it.
That's typically the way we do it too,
Yeah.
Fred.
All right. So, have anybody in the audience have any questions with regard to the whole process that we're looking at right now? Okay, so, we're looking at a conditional approval. Sound reasonable to the board members?
Yeah.
Okay. And, whoever's gonna make the motion should end up
Reading all of this
reading
into,
all of this as part of the motion, and then also listing the items that remain as part of the conditional approval that have to be completed. And
You could also say, for the performance, the condition reading, you know, verbatim, keep the recommendation from Keach Norton, because I'll be typing this up,
oh, you will, okay,
and I'll be copying and pasting it as the condition, so
okay.
it's up to you. You can read if you want, but.
What do you guys feel like doing?
do we have do you have the scroll with all the conditions on it? What? No, I can read this, but the other conditions that were not in,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, everything that Fred just,
So I don't know if you can read my handwriting, but just let me know.
okay, so I would move that we grant conditional approval to this for this application, subject to state subdivision approval,
Mhm.
site, specific approval. Does that include the, terrain?
That's one of the.
That's, okay, that's site specific approval, okay.
Right.
The, homeowners covenants, I gather the, conservation easement would be a separate document?
Yeah.
Presumably, okay. You're gonna have to build a library for all these papers. A performance guarantee, and the applicant shall provide the town engineer with a bond estimate pursuant to the italicized portion in point 3 of the Keach Nordstrom letter, dated January 18th, 2024, that was provided to the board. Any other issues?
I think you covered it.
Okay, okay. So that's moved.
Second, any discussion? That sound okay to you, Ed? And obviously we'll be holding that until holding the plans.
You know what, Fred, I'm okay with that. To
Okay,
me, that's the easy button.
okay.
Okay, maybe my lawyer might say you idiot, but that's what, to me, that's the easy button.
All right. And how long do you think it's gonna take to get those approvals and all the other stuff in?
Well, Roscoe's already got state subdivision application in. We have to deal with fishing game and alteration of terrain at the same time or simultaneously.
Yeah.
AOT is not the cog that slows that engine
Yeah.
down. It's
Mhm.
fishing game. So wild guess throwing a dart at the wall, Fred, 4 months,
Okay,
6 months.
and that'll certainly give enough time to get the homeowners association. town
Absolutely.
Council to
Yep.
review it and,
Get the bond up and squared with Steve so that he's comfortable with the numbers and
Okay.
all of that. Yeah.
If it goes beyond, we'll just ask.
for an extension,
Just a,
What was the time frame?
4 months.
and my assumption is that is based on these plans as provided, and so the approval will be of these plans as written.
Right. All right. So 4 months, for the conditional approval.
And, okay, 4 months.
All right, any further discussion?
Before we vote on that, Mr. Chairman, just playing devil's advocate, could I suggest 6?
6, okay. All right,
Amend it to 6 months.
Thank you, sir.
We don't even have a second yet, so
I understand. That's why I tried to get in there early.
No, I did second.
6 months, I did second.
oh, did send, I didn't hear that, sorry. It's bad ear.
All right, so it'll be 6 months, for conditional approval to meet those conditions. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed, no. And the vote unanimous.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So can I ask the question that I was gonna talk about?
I was gonna charge you extra for that.
Yeah.
By the minute, though, it's okay.
So the homeowners association in conservation easement is the documents.
Mm-hmm,
And so the question I have, is in place of those documents, is there, and there's difference of opinion, but I want to ask what the board thinks about this. That somebody like myself could remain the fee, they call it the fee owner of the open space
mm-hmm,
under the guidelines of the conservation easement, so the homeowners association documents go away. But then the conservation easement is put in place and it's overseen by someone like, could be the town of Deerfield, or it could be like Bear Paw or something like that.
yeah.
To make sure it's managed the way that the conservation easement is spelled.
Right.
So that means that if that's an acceptable path, then I can work specifically on the things that concern you the most. And I have an authority outside of just me that's policing that, be it therefore or any other type of conservation or whatever, for the town.
Yeah, well,
And then I don't have to deal with the documents of the association. I don't have to have them, I just simply sell them along.
well, I think we'd probably still need to have that because somebody's gonna be maintaining
Yeah,
the ponds, the infiltration ponds. That would be part of the homeowners association. The maintenance of those.
And I think there were some other questions about that, but to me, that's just a logistic,
Mhm.
okay? So I'm looking for almost a direction of which way I can go with this kind of thing. And what way would be better. And if I may, I'd love to give you my personal opinion on it. Okay, often there's challenges within communities that all
Mhm.
revolve around setting up boards, getting people, you get people, I mean, it becomes a neighborhood infight. And I know that because I hear about it when I'm in these neighborhoods, talking with customers that I'm selling flooring to.
Mhm.
They love to boast about their position, or this, or that neighbor, he's a jerk, and she's this, and I'm that, and to me, that's just a headache, and I personally think I do a great job maintaining the property, as far as the forest goes. But I want to make sure I spell something out real clearly. My original piece of forest looks fantastic. Actually, Roscoe boasts about how good I kept it in the 22 years I've owned it. But the other stuff that I bought was devastated, okay? So don't look at that one. But I would love to be able to consider that, if that's something the board would be open to. Because if you are, then I'll get into it more with the lawyer. We'll talk about the maintenance of the other things and whose responsibility that is and all that kind of stuff. But I didn't have him dive into it until I had this conversation first.
Well, the only-
I don't know what your opinion is.
The only downside, I think we'd have to check the ordinance to see if that is permissible.
Hmm.
But the only downside I could see from your standpoint is if it's the homeowners association owns the open space,
Yep.
then they collectively pay the taxes on it.
Yep.
If they don't own it, you have to pay the taxes.
That's right. We need to be at a tax base that would be in current use.
Yeah.
And so therefore, Fred, that's what I'm doing now,
Mm-hmm,
and I understand that.
okay.
That's why I called it the field. That
Mm-hmm,
would be me.
yeah,
That would
right,
be,
right,
okay, and again, I don't have a problem with that. I understand that.
okay. Okay,
I'd be concerned about, as you say, compliance with the zoning ordinance. We should need to look at that, but I'd also suggest sitting with the Conservation Commission, who has a little bit of experience in that department, to talk about that as well, if that makes
I would
sense.
say that if this is an option, and maybe you can look into it with the ordinance to see, if there's room for this kind of system or setup.
mm-hmm,
And if there is, I have no problem meeting with conservation. And again, my job at that point is keeping it pretty much the way it is, managing it like I do now. Yep, I have a forester that goes through every 12, 15 years, selected cuts, I want it to be kind of left the way it is,
Mhm.
but yet managed, not just left. And that's what happens with some of these associations too, is there's really no governance in it.
Mhm.
And they just get left to be wrapped. Okay, nobody's paying attention, nobody cares, they only care about their own piece of property. Meanwhile, you got hoodlums out there wrecking it on four-wheelers and everything else, and nobody cares, because nobody even sees it, they don't care, they don't even know they own it,
right,
and it gets wrapped. So that's
Oh, no,
my selfish reasons for looking to do it,
Mhm.
because I want to keep it maintained in.
yeah, the HOA it becomes a sort of an excuse for not caring. It's like, they're looking after it.
So it's just a conversation that I've had a couple times. And I just wanted to get the board's opinion on it. I think it's and I'll call it selfish, I think it's a great way to make sure that the land gets left in the way that I want to leave it the whole time that I'm owning it.
mm-hmm,
And those covenants or that document, even if I sold it or sold that, would have to go with it. And that's pretty strong. I think it's stronger than getting the homeowners association involved in that kind of stuff. Because undoubtedly, sometimes the homeowner associations try to undermine the conservation.
Oh, absolutely. And I think one of the concerns the Conservation Commission has is that a divided ownership like that invites, further festering, if you will, whereas a single owner is beneficial in that way. So but I think we need to figure out how it's consistent with the zoning ordinance and how to work best.
I would love to work out something that would, I think, be a much better situation for everybody. But especially, I think the town benefits tremendously.
The animals don't get,
One person
don't,
accountability, You just have to intervene.
well, but we like that. And you know, it's a high value, area from a conservation perspective. And so, nature will also thank you.
So that's why I didn't have, conservation easement documents or any homeowner
Mhm.
association at this time. I wanted to at least voice this opinion. I almost did it at the last meeting, but he had to get up and leave and things were, and I just said, no, I'll just wait.
Yeah.
And I was hoping Pete would be here too, but
Right.
same thing. The weather's pulled him away.
I'll read you probably the applicable sentence here. Open space not conveyed to the town or to a conservation organization acceptable to the planning board shall be conveyed to a homeowners association, provided that the lots in the open space development are subject to recorded covenants requiring membership by the lot owners in the subdivision and providing for in a list of five items.
What's the first portion of that?
As far as the
The land not,
yeah, I'll read the whole thing.
yeah, sorry.
Open space shall be protected by deed restrictions or other permanent covenants running with the land or a conservation easement. Open space not conveyed to the town or to a conservation organization acceptable to the planning board shall be conveyed to a homeowners association, provided that the lots in the open space development are subject to recorded covenants requiring membership by the lot owners in the subdivision.
So that sounds like the fee ownership needs to be either with a land trust or the town. That's what
That's what it sounds.
that sounds like. The fee ownership would need to do that. That's,
Or the association, right?
or this, what's that?
Or
Or an HOA, but the HOA is where that, you know, this stuff typically falls apart.
Right.
So,
I am advocating for if there's room to move anywhere within that or on the outside of that with the land, with the one owner land that's not the town and not like that.
What we could probably do, you could probably end up giving us a letter, what you're proposing to do. And what I think is pretty clear to me, but
Mhm.
just so that we can then take that letter, send it off to the town council and have him take a look at that in the ordinance to see if there's any wiggle room for us to be able to take and allow that ownership to go to you rather than the association.
Now, I guess I could always form some nonprofit environmental company or thing.
Mhm.
And then that
you
would
could convey it to,
language.
you could convey it to Historic Deerfield Inc.
Yeah. But it was an interesting conversation that I
Mhm.
had with
Yeah.
a couple people.
Mhm.
And some ordinances allow it clearly, and
Mhm.
some are kind of in the gray area, and this is one of those
Gray areas, yeah.
gray areas.
But it does seem to me that, this is something that's going to happen over 4 years at least.
Mhm.
There's no reason why, one couldn't, you know, at next year's town meeting, not this year's town meeting, think about this idea and put forward a zoning change that
Yeah.
would permit something like this that was acceptable to the
Mhm.
town as well as to prospective donors.
And that was one of the thoughts.
Mhm.
That if it needed to have some clarity, it could be what you just did tonight. You know, that would be put on the ballot for the following year, just, we don't have time to do it this year,
It's
No.
you know,
too bad that we had that snowstorm last time, right?
Yeah.
Would have had plenty of time.
Right.
and it was early in the consideration of what I was thinking.
Mhm.
I just personally think it's a great thing for managing something like that, easier than any association. The horror stories that I hear about with homeowner associations going on with, you know, infighting and all that kind of stuff, it's politically challenging. It's just terrible.
Mhm.
You know, you get into a nice little neighborhood and next thing you know, you're trying to battle everybody,
Right.
you know, and I think most people would just assume buy a lot, build a house and live on it,
Mhm.
okay?
But have the benefits that
protect them that
Uh,
nobody can build around.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yeah.
You know, that to people is what matters the most. Nobody can build around.
Right.
People come here for the countryside.
So
So-
I'll try to get something put into a letter. Obviously, I have 6 months for this, so.
Yes, right.
You know, but I think I would like to do that and see if we can find a way to make that happen. And maybe even if you reach into your pockets of people, might help too, just to get some feedback.
Yeah, we can see what I think.
Yeah.
People do, yeah.
That would be great. That's all I have. Thank you for hearing me.
Well, I would recommend that you, in the part of the, many hours of leisure that I'm sure you have, and enjoy the movie, Over the Hedge. Talks about this kind of stuff. There you go.
And it is exactly what I'm talking about.
It's exactly what you're talking about.
It's exactly what I'm talking about, you know, and that was such a realistic movie in a lot of senses. Yeah. upset.
That's
So
it.
You guys have a busy day. I mean, a busy night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy it.
We have a conceptual meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Franklin, thanks for your patience. Well. You take it away.
We get a turn?
Your turn.
I didn't know you were on the docket. I'm so sorry. I didn't see that on there.
Well, my name is Jim Franklin. I'm the surveyor that prepared these drawings, and the landowner is with me also tonight. This is just an informational meeting concept to, I think, just to start this project off.
Thank you, Mr.
Can I
Franklin.
leave one for the other members? I can keep one and you can pass them out.
Yes. You keep one for yourself.
Yeah. This is a simple subdivision. This is for map 416 lot 19. This is the part of town, it's southeast part of town. And Nottingham Road. What we're proposing is 3 lots. There's 1 lot there now. We want to create 2 additional lots, both being 3 acres plus or minus, as shown on this drawing. What we anticipate needing to do is to have a wetland delineator, soil scientist look at this property to find out if there is wetlands on there, and then we would revise the lot lines accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Is this the Weiss property?
Cooper
Cooper. Well,
property.
Yeah, twice. For the older people, we all like.
Yeah.
That's why I say, well, it's just,
Yeah.
Yeah, Bernie Weiss was a member of the Board of Selectmen, so, but that goes a way back, a little ways back.
I can remember.
Okay. You were just a young whippersnapper.
I was.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see any major issues there. You got, sufficient frontage and we're talking 3 acres and, yeah,
We have not done any test pits,
right,
nothing like that at this point.
yep. What's the,
The driveway is within the 416 lot 19.
Or,
The driveway for the existing barn and house is.
yeah, we would,
Within.
we need to do this survey for all of that.
Oh, okay.
Yep, yeah, this is the plan that David Sidmore had done, original boundary survey subdivision prior to that. And, so we got a copy from the registry, we computed this, we got the contours, the soils, the wetlands. And then we figured we'd better come here before we went too far down the line. See
Mhm.
If there was any changes that are coming for the zoning, things like that.
I don't see any issues. Any of the board members do?
Nope.
Yeah, so,
I think this is the ideal location. Roscoe owns one side and the town owns the rest of it on the other side.
I didn't realize the town owned that piece.
It's part of Dow's case for.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yep.
Are there trails going through this?
Pardon?
Any trails going
Yes.
through this?
They go all the way from Nottingham Road over to,
And where do the trails
State
go?
road.
Where do the trails go through this? Oh,
on this map here, there's basically wetland out here. The trails are on the other side of the stone bridge, which is down at the bottom of the hill.
right, but the trails then go through this
No,
land, this
there's no
property?
trails up this way.
Okay, so there's no trails on this property?
nope.
Yeah, okay. 'Cause I know,
This is Roscoe's piece,
right,
town's piece is here, over
gotcha.
and down.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I think we're all set on site distance, but,
Okay. Thank you.
is that,
I don't have any other questions.
is that an accurate, assumption on my behalf? That was,
Pardon?
site distance is okay?
We will check.
Okay,
Again,
say
when we
you'll-
start this survey, that will be the because we just traced the location of the house and barn from Dave's plan.
mm-hmm,
And so we've got to survey that, make sure that
Site distance
setback is
from-
going to fit. You
because
can
it-
see that we're very close.
Right here?
yes, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The only one I would see maybe having a question with site distance would be the lower one.
As it goes, starts going down the hill.
Yeah, that's drops down the hill. That's pretty much right across from the old well house. It's across the street. And that would be the only one due to that hill right there coming up to your place. That'd be the only one I would think may have, but down the hill wouldn't be bad, but up the hill going towards your place might be the only one that might.
I would feel safe. if We had an engineer look at that.
Okay,
You know, it goes a little beyond, when you get into that area, you know, with curves and slopes and speeds and all that, it goes a little bit beyond what a survey
Mhm.
should be doing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I would say with, you know, conceptually, which I think this is, it looks fine, but devil's in the details, right?
yeah, that's the only potential issue I see is site distance. And as Don says, that the northernmost lot would be more of a concern. So we'd probably want to make sure you put on the proposed driveway locations too.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah. yeah, we put that on with the 4K areas, the proposed well locations or potential well locations, things like that.
Okay. Okay.
That- Some of the communities, when we go there and we show a driveway on a subdivision plan that's approved. Some planning boards say that you cannot move the driveway without going back to the planning board for a new subdivision approval.
I don't
I
know.
think our regulations say proposed driveway location. So I.
Yeah, so you'd still need, anybody building on it still needs a driveway permit.
Right.
And so that the road agent would be looking at the proposed driveway location. And if they wanted to move it, then they'd have to get permission from him to move it from that proposed location, but
Well,
It's
like
not
I
a
said,
situ-
some of the planning boards they've got from their town attorney said that if you move the driveway location from what's shown on the approved plan, you have to go back. It's a revision and you have to go back and get a new approval. And I just want to make sure that we won't have that problem here. We haven't in the past.
we haven't required that in the past,
Okay.
unless you want us to think about doing that.
No, please.
We'd add to the warrant article next year.
Pardon?
We could add it to the warrant article next year.
No, no.
The lower piece of property, doesn't that have an existing tote road that went into it anyways? Or is a subdivision broke up
right
before that?
That's right above where the
Oh, that's right above it? Okay.
That will stay with the farm.
Okay, I knew there was an access point there somewhere, I just wasn't,
Almost right along the public property.
okay.
Yeah, our subdivision regulations is just proposed, so I don't see why the board would require, you know, because things can happen.
I don't have a problem doing that at all. I just wanted to make sure that there wouldn't be a problem when someone decides to build.
Yeah, and.
Yeah.
And we do have the control with the road agent having to issue the driveway permit. And then if they want to change it, then he can determine whether or not it can be changed.
Right.
So,
Don't have any other questions.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. All
right.
Whether they got all that cordwood. Whether they got all the cordwood.
I think you
Yeah,
have.
did he keep it?
That was payment said.
Yes, we do.
I don't know about always pay.
Where do you-
Manifest in minutes, yeah, we'll take care of those.
The other side down.
And then,
I gotta chase them down.
We're gonna enter another,
Have a great night.
Oh, enter, oh, yeah.
You got a thumbs up.
another bet.
They
I
told
get
us.
to do all you do.
Oh, these,
It's
I thought they would turn it down.
gonna,
but they're redoing it. right?
Redid it. It's all done.
Get stuff.
Only did
So,
I might need to have, and I'm not.
This is your-
With me,
That will not be done without loud.
Really?
Yeah,
Secret passage.
in the front door.
Yeah.
Like when you look at an old colonial,
Yeah.
you got the front door and the side door. You go in the front door, you have a set of stairs.
Right.
Go, there was 2 bedrooms on this side. So you go to the very back bedroom towards.
I'm gonna go with
towards the field. It'd be this box.
I don't see any
And
31st.
Open the closet up, step in the closet, turn this way, there was a small door.
What time?
Like another closet.
About 2 o'clock.
Down the stairs, and it went, basically, the house was this way.
Didn't ask him.
And a wait.
I don't think so
It
either.
basically set like this, so stairs were over here, and it was on the very back of the house. The stairs went from, basically from here, now there was an L shape, this L shaped piece of house. This is newer, this is older.
Yeah, me
It
too.
went down the stairs, behind the kitchen, turned down again, and you come out over here. So you went in over here.
Interesting.
I forgot it again, the
Pretty cool.
contract.
We
which is Southern New Hampshire
Love
Planning
the older
Commission,
kids.
Town of Deerfield.
Yeah.
Lots of fun
Exact
with
same
kids.
as Last
Yeah.
time, except it's $20,000. And that's something we being.
I'm not
me
entering
and
4.
John
I've already
spoke
entered
about.
1.
Yeah.
Do we have change or not?
I think
I
it's a
would-
big change.
I would love a motion to allow Pete to authorize Pete to sign the contract, but I understand if you'd rather wait for everyone to be here to vote.
You guys okay with that? Authorize Pete to sign the contract with Southern New Hampshire.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
So-
have a motion to.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to authorize the chair to sign on behalf of the planning board, the contract with Southern New Hampshire Planning
Yes.
Commission for planning services for the year 2024.
As
Any-
previously discussed, no?
Yeah, as previously
Yeah.
discussed also, yeah. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Vote unanimous. All right, I'm gonna do minutes. I didn't see much on the minutes.
We're gonna stick around while we get the details, right?
I need your information. Your guesses.
We'll do that after that. What do we have?
And have minutes,
Business.
Make a motion, to accept the minutes as written.
January 10th, is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
no. Vote unanimous. All right, we have manifests. Actually, we have 2. The manifest for January 24th for Southern Hampshire Planning Commission Circuit Rider Services in the amount of $1,601.60.
So we'll
So, second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Vote unanimous. We also have manifest for K and A Associates for reviewing plans and also doing construction monitoring inspection, and I assume that's probably on the Eversource work. In the amount, total amount of $3,057.03. Have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve,
second.
Discussion.
yes. You mentioned the magic word. So we're paying this, if it was Eversource or if it was any other
Yeah,
applicant, we bill this as out
We're taking it out of the
of the bond,
escrow for,
the escrow, okay.
for,
I assume that was the case, but
yeah.
I'm just an alternate.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Vote unanimous. And you got anything else, Cam?
I think you will just need your signature on both of those and to keep them in your.
Oh, yeah, right.
folder.
Yep.
No, that'll be it for tonight's meeting. And so the next meeting,
You won't be here.
I may not be here. If I am, I'll be remote, so Tammy will be here and I may be on the screen. If we have the baby, I definitely won't be zooming in.
Yep.
Tammy's got it, so, and so.
Has she mastered this?
I think so. I did everything wrong today, so. when
Oh.
I got here, I figured it out.
Oh, good, yeah.
um,
So just be available by phone.
Yeah, so I'll be able to. Yeah, the next meeting, you'll have the Matthews, I will, that's something that Jamie, Sylvia and I reviewed, last week, it's the condo,
Oh, yeah.
condoizing that property. I believe they submitted the plans. Jamie will have the electronic ones to show. That one, it's Jim Franklin again. It's basically doing exactly what the board asked him to do with the previous one.
Yep.
So I don't see a ton of things that could go wrong there. I believe that will be.
Okay.
In the abs,
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, in the absence of Bill Parent, I would motion to adjourn.
Beat you to it, Todd.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.